Now, when we say open mic, you don't have to come up here with a banjo or spoons.
We like banjos.
You can just get up here and say whatever you want to until Peter Steinberg kicks us out. But just so you know, when you're done with the open micing, we have food. We have Claiborne and Churchill wine that was donated. And so just keep that in mind while you're wondering how long you should speak.
My name's Catherine. I'm a friend of Nanette's. Try not to get busy. I heard a lot of wonderful words describing her, but I think the word that comes to mind is romantic. She was a romantic about her family, about the people she loved, about strangers on a bench. She had such a romantic heart. I remember I met her when I was 18. I was one of those puppies that just picked her up, that she picked up along the way at the bakery that Robert mentioned. I remember one time she called me to invite me to lunch, and that was a big deal to be invited to lunch at her house on Serrano. And I was all excited, and I went over for lunch, and she had to tell me this story about the hero, about Robin being this hero. And I was so excited to hear this story, and she said that she had taken Robin on a walk. And at her house on Serrano, there's all these beautiful creeks. And she said that Nicholas was a youngster, and Robin had reacted differently to his birth, and threw a little fit, and threw his doll in the creek. And this is my version of that story, or her version of that story, telling it to me. And she said he was such a little hero because he realized that he threw the doll in the creek and he regretted it instantly, and she wanted to soothe his soul. And so she asked a man to pick it out of the creek, and the man said no, he didn't want to do it. So what did Nanette do? She called the fire department. And I could just picture it, this flirty, beautiful woman calling the fire department, and the fire department came and they rescued the doll. She had to tell me the whole story, and my second memory of Nanette is when she walked into a room. She was just this soul that took out the whole room with her spirit, and that's how I remember her. It was just this spirit that left you with this beautiful romantic memory. So that's my memory of Nanette.
By the way, the doll's name is Richard.
When I first knew Nanette, I was working at Poly, and there'd be speakers, and these speakers would come because they're famous and some ceramics or something like that. Big, well-known people, national reputations and so forth. And I'm always sort of intimidated, you know. Anyway, we go in the hall afterwards for the reception, and she immediately insults the guy in a funny way. And now she was so good that the guy, what does that mean? and she'd follow it by a great compliment that he'd forget about the whole thing and say, oh, I'm great. And so he'd be very happy. And she was terrific at it. She did it over and over again. And I'm sort of thinking, hi, how are you? You're so famous, you know. But she just sort of was able to just ignore all that kind of part. I'm sure she had her own anxiety, but she had a way of dealing with it, perhaps growing up around Harvard. Anyway, that's one.
One of the things I remember how she had sort of an understated quality to her, yet manifested quite a prominence without making a lot of noise about things. And probably thing came across as strong as any, just how proud she is of all of her children. And she had a real way of directing attention to the accomplishments of her children and being very proud of them without stomping on the soapbox. But I think that in a sense, my memory of Nanette lives today just with the people that are in the room and all that they've presented, their talents, she was so proud of.
Hello. I'm shorter. I'm not sure how to tell this story, but I'll spit it out. Nanette, I met, of course, through Bob Lundy, and to make profound sense, you have to know that I always wanted a grand piano in my house. And I had a beautiful Victorian house, and I couldn't afford a grand piano. And so I rented one for my first CD, and I fell in love with it. It was a 1916 Steinway. That was worth a fortune. And it became possible for me to buy it. And I went through a period of time of mulling it over, because if I sort of spent every cent I had, I could have it. But then my husband said, but we then, of course, won't be able to do anything for a really long time. And I realized he was right, and I gave up the notion of it. And a couple years later, when I was getting ready to make another record, I was doing a show, and Bob Liepman was playing cello on it. And there was this beautiful 1919 Mason and Hamlin. It's another very choice piano at this gig. And the minute I touched it, it was just like, I remember, there may have been 2 gigs where I played it, and you were at the second one, and Sal was at the first one, and Mary. But they all looked at me and went, oh, this is going to be a good show. Just because my attitude was so different in being able to handle an instrument like that and not bring some digital keyboard. So after that show, I was going on about the piano, and Bob says, well, you know, my mother has a piano just like that. And she doesn't even play. I mean, it's been in the family forever, and you know, it means the world to us, but there were a couple other pianos that were one that fit Bob's house. It was just perfect for Bob's house. It was a great antique. And then this 1926 Mason. Anyway, he said, let me talk to her about it, because currently it's too big for the apartment, which I think might have been the place you were talking about that she used to blow you kisses from, right? So, and it looked very large in the room, and Robert was interested in playing the piano, but he needed something much smaller to think around with. And so I had been writing all my songs and being, my children learned to play on this little upright Baldwin, which was a killer, great student piano. And I had written songs that was very sentimental to me and to them. But when I went to Nanette's place to play it, you know, she said, just let me sit here and listen. So I played it, and I melted. And basically, the arrangement we came up with was, here's this amazing grand piano, it's worth, I don't know, let's not even go there. And here's my little upright, you know, kind of student thing. And she says, I think we should just trade. So at first I was kind of like, this can't be happening, and I went on the internet to see, like, you know, I gotta find out what she could get for this piano. And I did, and I told her, I kind of whispered in her ear, I said, you know, you could get a lot of money for this piano. This doesn't really, you know, kind of jive what we're doing. And she said, oh honey, I don't care about that. I just want it to be happy. And I think it will be happy with you. And it has been happy with me for about 8 years. We call it the Great Piano Trade of '04. And I have written so many songs on that piano. I'm so grateful to Nanette forever. Thank you.
So I will always remember Gung Gung as being the last word of words. She seemed to have the ultimate understanding of grammar, and I think it instilled in me a love of poetry in some way. And for her, I will read this short poem by Walt Whitman. It's called A Noiseless Patient Spider. A noiseless patient spider, I marked where on a little promontory it stood isolated. Marked how to explore the vacant, vast surroundings. It launched forth filament out of itself, ever unreeling them, ever tirelessly speeding them. And oh, you, my soul, where you stand, surrounded, detached in the measureless ocean of space, ceaselessly musing, venturing, throwing, and seeking the spheres to connect them. Till the bridge you will need to be formed, till the ductile anchor hold, till the gossamer thread and flame catch somewhere, oh my soul.
I want to say one thing has to do with music, which is how our family met, the Liepman family, doing music. So we've known them about 12 years. I really appreciate the music we heard today. I think your mom might have liked it quite a lot. You know, that was beautiful. You guys played pretty good, George and Lizzie. You might want to keep that up. Pursue that. I would stick with that. Yeah, I was stick with it. But my point is that you children, you Liepman children, were, as you said, driven to those lessons, taking that music. Mom was doing a little steering. There was a little, come on, let's have some music in this family, going back to her father, and who knows how far back it goes into the genetic history there. That's how come we know you guys. That's what our connection is. These are ripples in a pond that set in motion by something deep in her, went through you little kids. I don't know if you were dragged to lessons or not, but it's not always easy to make kids persist in lessons. But anyhow, look what's happened. Look what she did. Look what she's done. And we're still enjoying it today, and it was a beautiful afternoon thanks to her. Thanks to her love of music. So that's it.
The program is very small because I didn't want to make it next side of the paper. But if you've got time to get your magnifying glass out and look at it, you'll find that this is a history of Nanette's existence in a way. It starts with the Boston Symphony, which her great-great-grandfather was a member of. And then over to the left, you'll find a man with a big bass at the time, and that's her great-grandfather. Below is her parents, married in 1918. And then it shows on the right side, you'll see Nanette in various versions. You see her playing with her father, and also the doctor who delivered her. And then one of the pictures of Nanette I kept looking at was she thought, you know how kids think of a lot, and every kid thinks there's a way to do something, but they somehow get it just completely backwards or wrong, and they think, her idea was if I breathe out with my breath, I can smell the flower. Didn't work. And so the picture here, I don't know whether it's her sucking in with her mouth or blowing out. I think it was sucking in. But either way, you're not going to smell the flower. And so if you go up there, you'll run into pictures of Nanette on one of our trips. You see then Wendy, and then a picture of us, again on one of our trips. And then in the next series of pictures are all the siblings, George, Lisa, Joan, Bob, and then there's a unplugged concert, which everybody here is involved in some kind of folk music, right? And so that's there. And on the other side, you get to the bottom right again, right, you'll see Nanette ironing in Michigan, probably, not too sure. It could have been a little earlier. But it shows her, but there's a picture of her in Ann Arbor with the same haircut. And so I kind of think it might be Michigan. And then you go up and then take a trip across the country. Here's the family at the Grand Canyon, because you got to stop at the Grand Canyon. And here they are. And then you go up further, and Nanette was always doing her nails. She was one of the persons that, you know, nothing to do didn't bother her. To me, it bothers me. You know, I got something to do. Well, what am I going to do? You know, my hands got to be busy. You see me drawing, writing, or something. But she wasn't that way. Well, maybe she was, because she's proud of her hands. And you go further, you run into the Liepman family in Ann Arbor with Mary Louise and her husband. And when they're all having some kind of barbecue, you go up further, you see Susan Liepman, and then there's a picture of Nanette and I at Winnie Duma in the desert at an Independence Hotel or at Bed and Breakfast. So anyway, that's a quick rundown. If you just think about it as a kind of a timeline from bottom to top, and roughly it was you know, ins and outs. The middle part it jumps around, but bottom part is all, you know, happened before.